was high winds on the Jersey Turnpike that actually made me own Bit of Britain.
Welcome to the Major League Eventing Podcast, the show for eventing fans by eventing fans.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Karen. On today's show, we chat with John Nunn, owner of Bit of Britain, Nunn Finer, and Tack of the Day.
John, welcome to the show.
Hey, glad to be here.
Super. Hey, where are you at today right now as we're speaking?
I'm down in Aiken, South Carolina. We, my wife and I, we come down for 3 months, January, February, March, and I run the companies from the computer here, and the staff keeps everything going back home, and I bring some ponies down and get to play for a little bit.
That sounds awesome. Absolutely awesome. So listen, I won't hold you up. I know you're a very busy man, so we're going to get right to it if that's okay. John, you're a very successful entrepreneur, owner of multiple businesses, as well as an active eventer. I've always been interested in how you got into all of this and how did you start. Basically, in a nutshell, when you were a young kid, were you always dreaming of being a businessman or a rider? You know, it kind of seems like you're doing both at a pretty successful level.
Well, Rob, to be honest with you, I'm not sure I really thought I was going to be either. I had to think that I really thought I was just going to be a thoroughbred trainer all my life. I grew up in the horse industry. You know, I've got a mom and dad, and there's 8 children in the family. And out of the 10, 8 of us have held thoroughbred trainers licenses. So 8 of us out of that 10 have trained racehorses for a living. And 4 of us have held jockey licenses. And my sister kind of led the way in the riding. She was the 6th girl rider ever to ride. And she started riding races in 1969. And she didn't end her career until 1989. So we've always I've been in horses since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. I mean, really, really little. And so yeah, I never knew which direction it was going to take me, but the business side of it's a whole different story. So which part do you want me to start at there?
Well, I'm still stuck on the racing trainer side of this. If it's okay, I want to get into that just a little.
I'll give you a real quick scenario of how this happened. And I tell the story that it was high winds on the Jersey Turnpike that actually made me own Bit of Britain. So I'm sure at this point I've got your audience a little curious. How does high winds on the Jersey Turnpike So I'm heading from Miami to Boston to go with some horses on a truck and trailer. And I get on the Jersey Turnpike. I'm coming from Miami, been driving all night, and they give me a ticket, and they say, as I get on, they said, you have to get off at X11. And remember, there's no GPS or road map. All you have is road maps back then. So I get off at the first rest area, and I go into the toll booth, or the telephone booth. No telephone, cell phones back then, just giving my age away. And the phone booth is swaying from one side to the other. And I call my client who lives in Jersey and said, Peter, how do I get there? I can't even figure it out because it's where all the smokestacks are in Jersey. And he says, I don't know. And he says, why don't you go back to Delaware Park? You just passed it about 15 miles ago and hibernate there. So I have to admit, I turned around, went back to Delaware Park. I stayed there for several years and trained horses, but the woman named Clobia Carroll owned a tack shop called Bit of Britain, and it was a mobile racetrack, tack shop that went to the track and delivered from barn to barn. And I actually I got to meet her. She offered many years later for me to buy it. I turned her down. She offered me to work for her. I took the job. I spent the winter at Fair Hill one winter, and a couple months later she said, well, I'd really rather sell it. And 1990, that was September of 1990. I took the job. In March of 91, I owned it. So yeah, that's about it. So decided that we needed better tack and equipment because what I was seeing that was being sold was pretty shoddy. I thought, I didn't know a lot about tack, but I knew a lot about the fact that I had to use it and it needed to be safe. So I started Nunn Finer Products, a wholesale company.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's that's an amazing turn of events. Did you ever jockey in a race, in a flat race?
No, no, never out of the starting gate. So my two little brothers and my sister Michelle, they all rode on the flat at racetracks, and I only rode at steeplechase meets, hunt meets, et cetera, et cetera. So
Holy smokes!
yeah, yeah, I rode over fences. I was always just a tad heavy to ride on the flat, and never really wanted to try to fight my weight that much. So
You
I
and me
never did.
both.
Yeah, yeah. I like the adrenaline rush, and that's why today I'm probably the a better cross country rider than I am at show jumping and obviously at dressage. But I'm a better cross country rider than I am a show jump rider. Even though early on in my family we did a lot of show jumping. We had some really top show jumpers, but we moved to the racing side of it early on, probably 1973, 72. I think we moved to the thoroughbred racing side, and I kind of stuck my head there and left it there, and I didn't even know the sport existed until twice, I kind of I stumbled upon it with a girlfriend, took me up to Ledyard. Actually, Ledyard was my first horse trial ever to go to. Pretty impressive but I have to admit, I then went back to the racetrack after just visiting and watching Ledyard, and went back to the racing side of it. Never really thought about eventing again until I bought the racetrack tack shop, and it was located right near Fair Hill. So yeah, it didn't take long for me to realize that eventing was a pretty big sport, and it was a really good direction to head, especially when people needed 3 sets of tack instead of some nylon bridles and exercise saddles. And there was they seemed to pay their bills, where the racetrack people were awfully tight with that buck. So
Yeah, so I was always wondering how you. I mean, I knew that you started with the racing tack, but I wasn't sure how. How you made that transition. So I mean, I guess it was just the.
Well, I always have a little story for everything, don't I? I mean,
Bring it.
if you know me, I'm a bit of a storyteller, but all true stories, but just kind of. So I tell the story on this one that this is the God's honest truth. I went to the racetrack one morning, and the guy tells me that can I get a shadow roll? So I go in the truck, and I didn't carry very much leather tack, so it was sort of buried in these containers behind the back seat of this big lorry. So I had to dig it out, and I get this noseband, this shadow roll, and bring it out to him. And it's an English-made shadow roll, made by a company called BT Crump back then, and that was very well known, very well liked, and it was $42. And he said, $42, get that out of my barn. I'm not giving you $42. That's way too much. I have no idea what he was expecting. But so I go back to the we had a little tack shop. I was still working for Chloe Carroll, and it was on her farm right there in near Fair Hill. And it was open from 3 to 7 in the evening. So I'd get back from the racetrack, and I'd have to work there in the evenings. And make a long story short, the woman comes in, and she says she can't decide between 2 breastplates. There's 2 hunting breastplates there. So she's like, I think I'll just buy them both. And they were like $200 a piece. And I thought to myself, okay, what sport do you do? Well, I didn't even think I said that. I said, what sport do you do? She said, I event. And I'm like, ding, 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 ding. Okay, I'm, $42 noseband. I can't, they're telling me it's too expensive, and this woman's just buying these breast plates like it was nothing.
Wow.
I'm like, I need to look into this. So yeah, it's a true story, and I kind of just started to go over to Fair Hill and set up a little booth. I saw what they wanted, so I started going to the Amish and having them manufacture for me. And so for many, many years, I started with lots of breastplates and different designs and inserting elastics and things like that. And then as that grew, the wholesale other people wanted it, and other stores wanted to buy it, and so I started my wholesale company. And today we sell to about 450 stores nation and worldwide.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah.
What year was that when you started Nunn Finer?
I'm going to guess, and I'm going to say about 93. And it was actually called Nunn Finer Race Products
Oh, okay.
because I only started manufacturing racing equipment. Um, I, I just, the reins that they were making in England, they make loop end reins instead of buckle mainly. And the loops were all stretching out. So I took it to my Tack guy who literally did my repairs and asked him to make me a pair of reins, and he made me a pair of really lovely reins and charged me $50, and that's what we were charging back then for race reins. And I'm like, well, I can't afford to do that. And someone had told me about the Amish, and I started with a Amish family 35 years, or no, not 35 years ago, 30 years ago, and or 28 years ago, and I started with them and never looked back. The family sort of some of the family went one way into retail, and some went into manufacturing. And the brother manufactures for me today and has so for the last, as I said, about 27, 8 years. Yeah,
Wow. And you said your Nunn Finer products are in 450 stores or outlets?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Holy
And
smokes.
yeah, and it can be. I mean, don't get me wrong. We sell a little bit of all sorts of things. Nunn Finer is not just leather goods anymore. We manufacture horse boots, and we have a whole array of sort of stable supplies, and we do standing bandages and polo wraps and studs and plugs and taps, and tons and tons of horse boots, no slip pads. So don't get me wrong, that out of that like 450, you could have one company or one store maybe on a racetrack in Arizona or whatever, and all they sell is my no slip pads, which have been a big mainstay for our company for many, many years.
How about that? So
Yeah.
you're basically, I mean, if I'm just off the top of my head, I'm thinking, I think I can think of a Nunn Finer product for basically everything but the saddle itself, a helmet, and maybe gloves.
Yeah, I mean it is basically yeah, there's no saddles. We do horse care. We've been the exclusive distributor for Optimum time watches for the last
Hmm.
20 years.
Right. That's, I mean,
Uh,
that's it. I mean, you don't see anything else on course really, or at least I
yeah,
don't.
yeah, yeah. So if you see a watch, it's come through our doors.
How about that?
Yeah, and then we now manufacture. We're very big in the bridal business. A couple years ago, I decided I really enjoyed the bridal business because I could make so many different designs, um, we started manufacturing overseas many years ago. We could get better machines and equipment, and so we do manufacture overseas now. And we buy Italian leather, which
Wow.
is the best quality, most beautiful leather you can find. And we can cut a little bit of our cost in the manufacturing, and we manufacture here and abroad. So um, it's been a lot of fun. Our quality, before we were looking at $200 bridles. Now we probably have 15 bridles in the line that are $400 or more. And, that sounds like a lot of money for a bridle, but we're going up against bridles of other really top manufacturers that our bridles hold their own by far, by far. They sell that same kind of bridle for $600, and they don't put reins with it.
Wow.
I don't get it, but you don't even get a pair of reins. You just get a headstone, and a cavesson for 600, and the quality is not even as good. So we're able to produce a really good product for a really fair price, and I think it's a little bit because I come from the eventing world. And I sold to the racetrack, and I understand that people aren't made of money, and they really want the best that they can get.
Yeah, and you have. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know when I ride, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we always want the best. I mean, no use in not, and it's safer, and so no, we've really grown. I think we have upwards about 27 different bridles altogether.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the number. I really haven't counted in a while.
If you can't find the one that fits for, what you need, you probably have a problem.
Yeah.
The
27 different styles, so it's for the jumper, the eventer,
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, you're providing such a huge service as far as you know the product, you do the sport, what we need, you understand where,
Yeah,
most people are going to be using more than one.
Event. I have to admit, I probably hold the record, Rob and Karen, for the longest, for the person that went to more horse trials, never to watch a horse jump. So how do I pat myself on the back for that one and give myself that award? Well, when I ran the mobile for probably about 12 years, I would pull up to an event and put all the stuff out, and I ran my mobile. As you probably know, I was on the road every weekend.
Oh yeah.
From event to event, 30 some odd a year, and from spring to fall. And you saw me at every event every weekend, in the area 2 area.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and I never saw horses jump. I went to more horse trials and never saw a horse jump. And rarely would you set up in the direction of the ring, because you never wanted to, for the fact that it produces dust. So you got to be careful how you set your trailer up.
The stuff that you don't even think about when you're not in the business doing it.
Yeah, so it'd be nice to, and most of the time at that point, it's to the back of people, it's to the back of the consumer. So you want to put yourself in the spot where the consumer is, easily can walk past you and everything else. So, I probably hold that. And, and eventually I decided, when I got other people running the mobile, that I would try the sport myself, even though I really hadn't done it. And, so now at this time, I have a horse that I took intermediate last year, and that I sent him down to my daughter, and I just got him back, and she's in University of Kentucky, and she rode him around a couple of prelims last fall. She's I have a horse that I took prelim last weekend, and I've got another real up and coming youngster. So I've got a nice stable of horses besides to play with. So that's why I had to Aiken, and I can run I've really got good staffing, and I can run my quite slows down and take advantage of this warmer weather.
Yeah, well, hey, you definitely did you worked your tail off for so many years. It's nice that you can actually get out there and actually do the sport and enjoy yourself and everything. Do you ever sit back and see somebody ride by, or someone that you're warming up next to, or whatever, and just say, man, that's my bridle, and those are my stirrup leathers, and it's got to be a pretty awesome feeling seeing your product out there on course, because it's everyone's using your stuff, and it's just, man, I can only imagine how awesome a feeling that must be.
Well, yeah, I don't really. I look and I say, oh yeah, there's you got my reins on, or you got my bridle on, or whatever. I do see that, and I'm like, and boots and etc. I see it all the time. I have to admit, I went hunting down here. I took a little horse hunting one day, and and there it was like, I was kind of walking down line, and I'm looking, and it's like, okay, that's my breastplate, that one, that one, that one. It was like 5 horses in a row with a Nunn Finer breastplate on. And I'm like, yeah, I guess we've made it in the
Yeah.
hunting field feeling. I mean, I can't say it isn't, but um, I don't live on my past. I always think about what we're going to do next.
That's awesome.
Now that you have Tack of the Day,
We
how did you get started with that?
Well, that's good ideas come in a tough moment. The 2003 we had moved into a new building, and things were really tough because one, our telephones actually weren't set up when we moved into the building, and we didn't come till like 17 days later. So when we moved into Oxford, Pennsylvania from Calvert, Northeast Maryland, we were put a big catalog out, and it was a killer because the phones weren't ringing because there weren't any. And so we lost a lot of money at that time, a lot of sales, and really kind of looked kind of grim at that moment. Like, what were you thinking? It's a company. I have to admit, I'm not going to say I didn't copy it pretty well, but a company called Woot, WOOT, and they were doing these daily deals for electronics, and I sort of jumped on that bandwagon. I had Glenn Hebert working for me, who is a gentleman, and him and I built and built Tack of the Day at that point. And wow, is Tack of the Day has been it's been a blessing, and it's been fun, and we just revamped it and made it grow even more. We've added a lot more to it. At first, it was only a daily deal site for one product, and then two products, and then we've added what back then we called Tack of the Day 2. We now call the daily steals. 5 more products day up there, and I have managed, because there's so many to be had, and they won't load their own deals, and then ship us product, and we ship it out after it sells. So it's a really been a really great business for me. Yeah, sure has. Even when retail is getting tougher by the day, Tack of the Day has held up quite well.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. We just saw the other day that you were saying that the Tack of the Day is like the largest houses. It's the largest daily deal.
Well, discount site, equestrian discount site, and we're proud of it that we're able to find great deals and bargains for people all the time, on a daily basis. That just really, I mean, right now, today, I just popped it up right now. You got 47% off of a 5-way breastplate. So talking about eventers, that breastplate was $169.99, and it's up there for $89.
Wow.
And
Yeah, that's a good deal.
so yeah, I mean, so it's those are kind of, and you can't find a 5-way breastplate for $89.
Yeah.
No.
And
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
and then
So anyone who's listening has never been on
and
Tack of the Day.
the thing is, yeah, and these are there's cool coats up there right now, from Weatherby that sell every day, and there's a saddle up there right now, and there's a Wolfwear Pro Ultra boots. I'm looking at it, really 118. I mean, that's not a made up dollar amount. These companies give us these deals, and they make these deals, and they're just trying to get rid of overstocks, or or discontinued products, or products that just aren't selling well enough for them. They're sitting in their warehouse, and do them any good, that product's sitting there. So it's these are everyday brand names. We work with the best of the companies, from Ariat to Romp to Back on Track, who's up there this whole weekend. I
Wow.
mean, literally huge amounts, yeah, huge amounts of sales and grooming stuff at major discounts. And then we're now starting with some Western gear up there. So yeah, Tack of the Day has grown. It's fun to have started, and be a part of it, from its inception. Even though I don't want to say that I came up with it, because it was more Glenn really than myself. I was really the one who said, "Yeah, let's go, let's rock." Even though things were tight, I took the risk, and it's reaped the reward. So yeah,
That is
thanks for
awesome.
mentioning it. Yeah.
That's so everyone needs to definitely get on there every day and check it out. I mean, that could really save you. If you have a 50% off, I mean, everything you're wearing. If you're smart and you shop, you buy, what you want. If someone's kind of a smart shopper, and they have a nice list of their wish list, and they just keep an eye out every day, and when it comes up, they jump on it.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
saving a lot of money outfitting. Even just the Christmas list, shopping in July for it, and that pair of boots comes up. So that's
Oh
an
yeah.
awesome service that you're providing, my friend. Thank you very much for that.
No, and it is a huge savings, and you don't know what's going to be up there. It always changes. That's the other thing, and you can sign up to you can go online and sign up to get the daily emails. So. Or Facebook posting. So, you can go right online, and you can order off your phone also. So it is user friendly for phone or tablet. And yeah, we've we have made it. I like the way it looks right now. I've got it. We've revamped the look and design, and got more people involved, and so it continues to grow. So it's fun.
That's awesome. Just kind of switching gears just a little bit back to, you were telling us a little bit about your horses, and how are you finding time to ride and train? So are you competing both horses, or is your daughter competing one, and you're competing one, and how are you finding time to balance the work and the riding and the
Well,
competition? Like, how many competitions would you say are you going monthly or biweekly or?
yeah, I don't. I don't really. My competitions are sort of sporadic, and that's only because. Um, I'm not looking to take these horses around, week after week after week. So, um, I don't generally work weekends unless we have shows anymore. Which Rolex is coming up. Oh, not Rolex, Land Rover.
Land Rover.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's gonna
You
be a
need
tough
to
one.
have that,
That's gonna be tough to get.
yeah, out of your head.
Yeah.
And then but to be honest with you, no, I leave my building. I work early. I'm up early in the morning, and I have a tendency to get a lot done when the door's closed and nobody else is bothering me. And then I work. I leave the building up north. When I go north, I leave the building by 3:30, 4 o'clock every day, and then I go ride.
Straight to the barn.
So I'm home. I'm home by 7 o'clock. My barn, yeah, straight to the barn. My barn that I board at 5 minutes from my store, and so I my own horses and do everything myself. Um, and really enjoy doing that, but I have a little more free time to do that. Where at home, it's harder to get away, so I board at home. And no, I own riding. Currently I've got three that I'm riding instead of two. So no, I I find it I find it hard at times, certain times of the year, but other times, I just leave early,
Well, you're the
and that
boss.
I've started early. I mean,
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
put in, you
yeah.
know,
Well,
yeah,
and you
but
have people that if
I
you
just don't
can't.
like to. Yeah, I can walk. I can walk away.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
you've established a staff. I mean, all these
yeah.
years,
Go
you
ahead.
got the
I was.
systems in place. The operational side is happening basically during the business hours is operations, and you have people that work there, and then you're like you say, you're up early and you're taking care of the kind of the boss work behind the scenes, and that is awesome. You know, it's funny too, and this is a little off track. How many when people purchase from Bit of Britain or Nunn Finer or Tack of the Day, you know, how many people can say that they are going to see the owner of that company who they bought that product from, like the next week at a show riding against them? It's just, I find that kind of cool. And I think I don't know. I think that's something to be said about the face of the company, and that you're not just, just a name on a website. You are out there, and you are a huge supporter of the sport. I mean, geez, if there's something that says eventing on it, Bit of Britain's somehow sponsoring it or attached to it. But who who are your coaches? Like, do you have like separate show jumping and dressage coaches, or how are you? Who you riding with?
Yeah, yeah. I am. My wife actually helps me with my dressage. She was an upper level dressage rider, and she actually does my dressage work, and we get along really well doing it. And I just listen and do what she says,
Smart
and
man.
if I'm going to ask for her help, I better do what she says, and like I would anybody else. I mean, you're not going to question too much what they say. You're a coach, and then I take show jumping lessons with Sally Cousins, and I have her keep an eye on me and kind of get her advice sometimes on where to go and when to move up and things of that nature. So I think I have two women who take good care of me in that respect.
It sounds like you're in good hands.
Yeah, yep, in very good hands. And I had a lesson with Sally about 2 days ago, and she says, you're not I was saying something about being an amateur, and she said, you're not the average amateur. And I said, well, I am an amateur, and she said, yeah, she put it really well, I think. She said, but you're a professional horseman and amateur event rider. And that's true
Yeah.
because, yeah, I mean, I can't say that I'm not a professional horseman. I mean, I've trained hundreds of thoroughbred winners. I've ridden races, I've done jumpers, I shipped horses for a living for a while. I've
Wow.
been a bloodstock agent. I mean, I've been I used to actually work for Murdy Brothers years ago, and used to fly horses used to be the attendant for horses going all over the world.
How
So,
about that? I bet
I've
you got
been
some
in,
stories about that.
yeah, I do.
Save that for the next visit.
Yeah, but so I've been a professional horseman, but really as a event rider, I'm an amateur.
Yeah.
I need advice, and I need somebody to keep an eye on me. And sure, I've ridden at the intermediate level at this point, but I don't want to say I'm not a professional. I don't do it on a day-to-day basis, trying to make my living at it or any of that. I don't give lessons. I don't feel as though that I am qualified to give lessons to speak of. Sure, I could give lower level lessons if I wanted to, but I just don't personally feel like that's my thing that I should be doing. I think there's a lot of really good coaches out there that can do it a lot better than I, and I don't. I'll keep selling my tack and equipment, and they can keep coaching. How's that?
Yeah, you keep your hobby your hobby.
Yeah,
It's,
exactly.
so, do you have any advice for the amateur rider trying to balance career and riding?
My people say it all the time to me. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you find the time. I make the time. And I think you have to just be really consistent in what you do. and you have to whittle out that time that you need, and just make sure that you do it. If you have to get up earlier and work harder at certain times, do it. If that's what your passion is, you have to do it. You have to make things happen in your life.
Yep.
You do. I don't care what it is. I have done that all my life. I have worked hard to make things happen. I don't generally sit around and wait for them to come, because if you do, they're not coming.
Yep. The
You
time's going
know,
to
they,
pass whether you act on that, desire or not. The time's going to go by, so you might as well just chip away at it. I listened to that. I just heard that yesterday somewhere. It's like, if you have that desire to event and you want to do the competition, put it on the calendar and start working towards it, because that date is going to come, whether you worked at it. The time, that date's going to come and go, and whether you're at that event or show or whatever it is you want to do, you might as well, like you say, make the time.
yeah,
Get up an hour
absolutely.
earlier.
Yeah, get up an hour earlier, work an hour later, whatever it is, do it that you can make it. People always said to me also, in the respect of, how'd you come up with that? Well, I've come up with a lot of different products and such. And how I come up with it is I always figure out what the issue is. Okay. So it's not about how I really came up with it. It was how I thought through, if there's a problem, how do you fix the issue? So, T-taps breaking off in horse's shoe, we came up with safety spin, because that was a way to shorten up the shank on a T-tap. And if a horse stepped down on it, find a way that what happens if the horse gets away like they do, and what can you do not to break the T-tap off in the back of the horse's
So
shoe?
you came up with that idea?
Yeah, yeah.
That is awesome.
But that's even before I knew anything about how to even, this is very, very early on, before I knew anything about even tapping a shoe. I knew nothing about it. I just could figure out how to fix the problem, because people would bring me and say, you sold me this T-tap and horse stepped on it and broke it off. And I could only see that to be a dangerous weapon in a horse's back foot.
Oh yeah,
After
holy
that.
smokes! Yeah, you got
And
this, and it makes sense. You have
so
this 3-inch long kind of shank or bolt, essentially, with a handle on it. I mean, that's
my thing was, first thing to them was, why does it need to be this long?
yeah,
And then they gave me, it doesn't, and then I went from there. So, it's like everything in life. You see an issue, just try to fix the issue. And if you can fix the issue, my issue is I don't have enough time to ride. Well, what do I have to do to make that work?
yeah. There's a
What
lot
do
of
I have to
excuses.
change? What do I have to change in order to make this be able to work? And if you can't, there's times in your life you can't.
Hmm.
I took 10 years without riding at all in growing my business. I didn't, when I was running that mobile on the weekends, I wasn't riding.
Yeah,
And, so I did what I had to do. Did I know I would come back and ride again? Sure. I didn't know I was going to event up to the intermediate level. No, but I knew I'd come back to ride. I mean, riding's in my blood. I was always going to ride.
yeah. There's no way you're getting away
So,
from that. So,
no, no.
as a event riders, and then anyone else who's might be listening, a lot of the pros, I mean, they may not consider it, but they're entrepreneurs also. Like what type of like business advice would you give for like someone that wants to be an entrepreneur or something like that? Do you have any words of wisdom from a guy who's been doing it forever on the business side?
Oh, I don't know. I think that's a full another question for another day.
Okay.
Well, yeah, it's
Kind of
just
we
a
covered
lot.
it a little bit. Get out there and do it. If it's something you want to do, you make it happen. Don't make
Yeah,
excuses.
yeah. I think that's it. Your the advice that I give everybody is, do the most important thing at every given moment, and don't just talk about things. Write them down and make them happen. Now, I always say write them down, because I truly believe in that. I believe in that you have to have that dedication, and it's got to be in your face. So write it down where you're going to see it all the time and make it work.
That's great
It's
advice.
so easy. It's so easy for things to get biased, and write them down and just make it put it right in your face. Make it like, yeah, put it right there on that refrigerator door, so you can't open it unless you see what you're going to have to get through that day. Whatever, write list and make them, check them off and make them work and get excited about it.
So I wanted to ask you about like sponsorships, and you're a huge sponsor of the sport, and I think everyone should say thank you, John Nunn, when they see you out there, because your name is on everything. Your name is on the online magazines, the Eventing Nations. You sponsor the Eventing radio show, countless things. You're the largest vendor space at the Land Rover, Kentucky event. Yep.
Yeah.
You're a huge supporter. Bit of Britain's Next Top Rider is a super promotion, and it's just wonderful because you're getting out the names of the young riders who are up and coming and who want to get out there. And you're a lot of people's first bit of exposure. So as someone who sponsors people and has been sponsoring people, like, part of what we want to do is we want to celebrate the sponsors and really bring value to the people who are sponsoring the riders and sponsoring events and putting some value back in it. As far as if someone was a young rider coming up and they wanted to get sponsorship from the sponsor side, what can we do better for you? What can the riders do better, or what are you looking for in a rider to help bring you the value?
Well, today is different than it was 5 years ago. Okay, so today has a lot to do with social media, postings, keeping our name out there when they do things. Wearing the equipment that we end up sponsoring them with, or just branding. Branding alone is very, very important, and the more that people see the branding, and again, social media is probably the biggest place that the branding helps. So, shooting out Instagrams and tweets and every time that they do, not every time, but when they do, and they're running through their sponsors, just make sure that they understand that their sponsors want and need that kind of promotion. Talk about the products that you get from those companies when you're talking about with your students, and making sure when they go to buy the things that they need, that they're buying the right things and from the company that has helped you, because you believe. We don't want any of our sponsored riders, okay? We don't want any of them to promote any products of ours that they don't like. So if they don't like something, don't promote it. I don't think that every rider has to love everything we do. Okay, I don't think so. There's some things that I manufacture that they're not my favorite. I really, I wouldn't be the one that raised my hand and said, "Oh, that bridle is my go-to bridle," if it wasn't. Don't get me wrong, I think I manufacture most bridles that I really like, but some of the fancy dressage bridles, they're not my cup of tea. But I just say, make sure that you're out there promoting the companies that you represent. Make sure that if you're getting sponsored by anybody, make sure that you're letting people know, because we throw marketing up against the wall and we just hope it sticks. We throw sponsorship up against the wall and we just hope it sticks. We hope that people see it. We hope that our name becomes synonymous with it. And sometimes you just don't know. So again, social media right now, that's the new mantra. That's probably going to change in a couple of years also, won't it now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, well, I think we've hit on a lot. We've held you up for a long time, so, and hopefully you enjoyed yourself.
feel free to ask me back at some point if you want. And
Super.
Oh, absolutely.
I wish you both the best of luck with the show. I think I think you got a lot to promote out there in the equestrian world, and I think there's plenty of room for your show for many years.
Super. But thank you very much. And just before we let you go, I just don't want to miss anything. We have Bit of Britain, Tack of the Day, Nunn Finer Products. Are there any other businesses that you have out there that we need to make sure we're hitting your websites and everything?
No, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's plenty. So yeah.
And pretty much just Google. We can give out web addresses, but
well, you have nunnfiner.com, and then you have bitofbritain.com, and you have tackoftheday.com.
Awesome.
So yeah, those are the three, and we do have a store. As you have been in many times,
Yes, sir.
in Oxford, Pennsylvania. Someone said to me last night, actually, do you have a store presence? You don't, do you? And I'm like, yeah, we do. And sometimes people don't even realize that fact. They just think that you're a website. So,
and we can't forget the tent sale that you have every year. It's possibly the best tent sale out there because you open up the whole place and you do these amazing giveaways.
Yeah, I've done it from the first year. Let's see, September of 1990. I took the store over, and I started a tent sale back then, and have held one every year since then.
And you have it in the fall, like right around Fair Hill time, right?
I do, yeah. It's always like the second or third week. I have moved it just because of Fair Hill, but we tend to do 2 weeks now, and we leave it open for the people that can't make it. We leave it open during the week, and then so we have it a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we have it Thursday, Friday, Saturday the following week, which is normally the Fair Hill weekend.
So anyone that's coming in town and they want to get a good bargain, shoot right on up the road. You're about 10 minutes away, maybe 15 tops. Check out the store and get some awesome deals.
Yeah, great.
Awesome, John. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show,
you.
and we'll see you out there on the events.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Remember, you can follow Major League Eventing on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. And you could always contact us at majorleagueeventing@gmail.com.